David Cross, the food boss. Welcome to the STS podcast. How you doing, Coach?
Oh, I'm good, man. How are you, the prettiest man in powerlifting?
You heard it here first. Yes, yes. Sipo, eat your heart out.
Yeah, man, I'm all good, all good here.
How's the weather? How's the weather in the bitter cold of the UK?
Uh, Today, it's actually pretty shitty. Grey clouds and rain, but to be fair, where I live on the south coast, uh, there is lots of sunny days. Not South Africa sunny days, but in
Mm.
terms of quantity, but we actually have really good weather here for most of the time. It is cold at the moment. I think most mornings has been around 3 degrees, so a little bit fresh. But when it's clear skies and you can see the sun, it doesn't really matter whether it's cold or not. It's just shitty days like this where it's rainy and grey, which get a bit shitty. But other than that, weather's good, man. But then
I feel like my ancestors would probably judge me for this, but I think I would actually enjoy like cold, shitty weather. Like every time it's cold and drizzly this side, it actually puts me in a good mood.
you know what? It's. I think some of this is down to the fact that we're big guys, right? So when we're in the heat of the African sun, man, I'm sweating like a fucking arsehole, man. It's awful. You know, I remember. I remember. I know you've had Lil on here before. I remember going to stay with Lil one time for a kettlebell workshop, and I must have had about 4 showers in the day just to try and get all the sweat and shit off from the humidity. And I can't. I mean, I said when I moved here, it's so nice just to be able to walk 100 yards without my fucking balls sweating from the heat, man. So the cold weather for big guys like us actually has some really good benefits. Yeah.
I'm telling you, like I run hot naturally, man. So even like in perfectly calm weather, like I regulate really good. I won't be like sweating excessively or anything, but I feel uncomfortable. It's like I just want colder. I would much rather be too cold and have to put on several layers than be too hot. Because even if I'm naked, it's still freaking hot. You know?
That's it. It reminds me of who's the UFC guy, Derek Lewis, the big heavyweight guy. He's standing there in the middle of the ring. He's taking his pants off, and Joe Rogan goes, "Why are you taking your pants off?" He says, "My balls are hot." You know,
It's
there's only so
genuinely
many
insane.
clothes, only so many clothes you can take off walking around in the shops.
But tell me, like you've changed body weight quite drastically over the course of your fitness career. Like you were a little chubs at one point, you were real skinny at another point, and now you're large again, but in a much more appeasing to the eye kind of way. Like how's that transition been?
You know, it's. I mean, the first stages were actually quite a mind fuck. So, you know, for those who don't know, I was morbidly obese. So I was a real fat fuck. Um, you know, and 137 kilos, lost about 50 plus kilos in 14 months and became really skinny. Got into half marathons. Um, and it took me a long while for my brain to catch up that I wasn't fat anymore. It was ironic because when I was fat, I didn't realize it. I was in, you know, huge denial about
Mm-hmm.
how fat I was. You know, I guess me going through the crutch in my trousers every few months should have been a good indication as to how fat I was. But
Been there.
yeah, yeah. But and then so being skinny, I had, you know, real body dysmorphia over how I looked versus how I was versus how I thought I saw myself. And then, you know, up into powerlifting where I went back up to 130 kilos at one point, but a very different 130, you know, there to where I was as a fatty. You know, I was solid at 130 for powerlifting at Worlds, and that was awesome. I loved being that big, and I'll say that strong because it's strong in comparison to the average, but not in comparison to, you know, others of my weight. You know, I was a bit behind, but and then where I am now, whereas I've now powerlifting is not the goal, and just enjoying life, enjoying, you know, playing with my daughter, you know, going out doing family stuff, not spending hours in the gym and just being, comfortable and aesthetically pleasing, I'll put it that way, is nice. It's nice not to have to spend hours in the gym every day. Like I used to. I mean, my sessions are like 45 to 60 minutes now. You know, how long are your sessions? Yeah.
Uh, uh, the shorter ones, at least an hour and a half, closer to two.
Yeah, there we go. So, I mean, I do miss it, but being where I am now, I'm healthy. I'm really functional still. I'm still strong, but it's just a lot less maintenance. I don't have to, yeah. So it's a nice place to be, but it's amazing. When I was actually looking at my pictures last night, I'm going to do a post on it over the next couple of days on all the various stages of my body, because you know, admittedly, for me, it's fucking incredible that you can be, you know, because again, people talk about genetics and this, that, and the other, and this is why it riles me up so much when people go on about this shit, because I've been fucking morbidly obese. You know, when you look down to, you know, look at your feet and you can't see your dick because your belly's so big, you know, that's not a good place to fucking be, right? So I've been that size, and then I've been super skinny at 86 kilos, and to go from there up to, you know, a strong powerlifter, to even being shredded on stage for bodybuilding, back up for strength for powerlifting, and to where I am now, you know, it for me it completely invalidates any genetics, you know, excuse there is, because it purely comes down to your drive and your determination to get where you want to get to.
100%.
And this is what I always, this is my struggle, and you know, I've, you know, chatted about this openly before, but I always struggle with clients because I almost want the results for them more than they want them themselves.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know. Yeah.
My whole perspective has always been like genetics are a factor, but
Yeah.
genetics don't determine whether or not you can be shredded or whether or not you can be big. It'll determine how good you look shredded or how
Yeah.
good you look big, how
Yeah.
easy or difficult it is for you to get there, perhaps. But
Yeah.
every single human body on the planet can get shredded or can get
Yeah.
muscular. Like
Yeah.
everyone can do it. It just
Yeah.
might take you a little bit longer. You might need to be more consistent for longer than the average person. You might not
Yeah.
look as aesthetically pleasing to the eye when you get there, but everyone is capable of getting there.
Exactly. Exactly that. You know, genetics load the gun, lifestyle pulls the trigger. Simple as that.
Mm. Mm.
Um, and yeah, so it does get me that side of things. But yeah, no, it's I just, yeah, I mean, I really wanted it. You know, you really wanted to be fucking super strong for powerlifting, so you put in the work for it.
Yeah,
Um,
despite my body not having the greatest genetics for that.
and yeah, I've come to the conclusion that my parents are to blame for all my genetic faults.
Yes,
So
yes.
yeah, but
I
that's
keep
where I
saying
am.
I didn't pick my parents wise enough. I needed to be a little bit more selective with the kind of genes I wanted in life.
Yeah, genes and wealth. My parents were definitely not wealthy enough for my taste.
But tell me, like trying to live vicariously through your clients. Like, how much of that are you doing with me?
Man, I love your fucking training program. I'll be doing that in a heartbeat. So yeah, no. I just wish my deadlift was as big as yours, but it's
Well, right
yeah,
now my deadlift isn't as big as mine.
no, no, but we are fixing that. We are fixing that. But yeah, I mean, I do miss powerlifting. You know, once you know, I've got this third surgery still waiting for the ankle. I've been putting it off and off because there's never a good time for this shit.
Yeah,
Um, but I know that once I have it done, yes, powerlifting becomes open to me again. But is the risk of the ankle going again worth it? And the other side to that is I'm really fucking competitive. You know, me and Isabella, so my daughter, for those who don't know, you know, she's 10. We compete over everything. We'll be walking out the door to go to the car in the morning, and it's first to the car wins, and first to get the seatbelt on wins, and everything is a competition of some sort. So for me to get back into powerlifting, which I love, and be competitive, I can be slightly competitive, but if I can squat 300, yet the winners are squatting 350 or deadlifting 350, whatever it is, the amount of additional work and probably drugs I would need in order to bridge that gap and win and properly be competitive in the sense of, that. Whereas, what's the point? For
I hear what
for
you're
a
saying.
plastic trophy, I might, I'll work my ass off and I'll maybe get a 320 squat, but that's still 30 kilos off the winner. I just don't see the reward in it for me anymore. So I don't know. I might get into it afterwards again. I might just do push pull. There's a lot less mechanical involvement of the ankle with deadlift rather than squat. I've got no cartilage left in my ankle, so it is just bone on bone. So yeah, so adding 300 kilos of compression down onto that is probably not the smartest thing I could do if I want longevity for the next 40 odd years.
Yeah, you're still relatively young too, so like you blowing out your ankle now would be a significant problem for a lengthy period of time.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the amount of guys, just in SA alone, who've had, hip and knee replacements that's younger than me. I'm 42. They've had hip and knee replacements, so many injuries. And like, fuck, as much as they are now good and they're strong and they rehabbed it, they will never be as strong as they were prior to, having that blowout.
Of course. And the issue with having a replacement that young is these replacements have a lifetime.
Yeah,
so like
yeah.
You're young enough to need a second or a third one later on.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's it. I mean, I've said to the surgeon a few times, just chop my fucking ankle off, give me like a bionic replacement, let me go to the Paralympics and live out my Olympic dreams, and then we're good.
There we go. That would solve everything.
It would, but they won't go for it. I could say I'm a woman and chop off my cock, and that's not a problem. But chop off my ankle was a big problem apparently. So no.
Well, what you could do is mutilate your ankle badly enough that they don't have any other choice but to chop it off. Apparently, that's the thing too. What do they call it? What's it called? Transabled.
Transabled.
Transabled. That's the one.
Yeah. I'd need a lot of oxycodone to make that work for me and do that myself.
But like speaking about competitive nature, I find that with myself, I'm also very competitive, but my competitive drive is more internal. I'm very competitive with like I compare myself with who I've been and who I want to be. So in a powerlifting meet, whether I've come first or I've come dead last, if I hit the numbers I wanted to hit, I'm elated. Like I'm completely happy in life. And if I haven't, and this has happened multiple times where I haven't reached what I wanted, and I've ended up winning. Like I think last year I won the overalls, and I was like, I'm actually not happy about this because I underperformed where I wanted to be. So it's like which is like a blessing and a curse thing. But it's like it can be annoying sometimes when the result is actually amazing and you're just not happy about it at all.
That's it, and I completely relate to that because when I was doing powerlifting, I knew I wasn't as good as the Nick Dupree's and that kind of side of things. I knew I was never going to be at that level. Even at Worlds, I knew I was always fighting for maybe 5th, 4th, and 3rd place kind of thing, rather than because 1st and 2nd were 300 kilos above where I was at. So it was always about my best performance. But now with the injuries and the surgeries there, it then becomes about, well, am I going to be competitive with the people ahead of me anyway? Probably not. Am I going to be competitive with who I used to be? Probably not. So what's the point? But no, that's self-internal drive, and you can see it when you're on the platform. There are guys and girls who mentally fucking choke and they just capitulate on the platform, and then there's someone like you who's not had the best prep or whatever it is, and you come through and absolutely fucking let rip and okay, you might not have got the physical numbers you wanted, but you still had, your what was it last year? It was Elite Raw,
Yeah.
and the qualifying comp before that, and then to come, was it a weekend or 2 weekends later?
2 weekends.
2 weekends later to come back and do Elite Raw, most people would not have even gotten near to what you did, and you still fucking nailed it. So, and that's that internal competitive drive that you have there.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing Sipo is afraid of, by the way. I see you. I know you watch these. That's the biggest thing he's afraid of, because I can have a shitty prep and still pull off something decent come competition day, whereas he needs everything to go 100% perfect the entire time, or it just doesn't work out for him. So I'm coming for you, bastard. I'm coming for you. Yeah, although I haven't told him yet. I'm not. The plan was to do, as you know, the Western Province Dominator, but the way my back's going right now, I don't think that's smart. Like it's. I'm getting to an age where I can't push through these things anymore.
Dude, wait until you're 40. Fuck me.
Am I gonna make it that far?
Yeah. I mean, I deadlift now. I've only got back into deadlift in the last, I think, 4 weeks. I deadlift once a week for 3 sets of 3. That is it. And my ankle is sore for the next 5 days. I just, but I've got to the point where I'm like, fuck, I just want to pick something heavy up and actually remotely feel like I've got some testicles underneath me still, and fucking and do it. And I'll deal with the ankle for the next 5 days. That's fine. I'll jump on the bodybuilding malarkey machines for the next week, and then my ankle's better again, and it's deadlift, and the cycle continues.
That is. I can see myself being like that, 10 years from now when I'm in your shoes, where it's like, it's not the smart thing to do, but God, it makes me feel good.
It's been 18 months since I deadlifted.
I wouldn't have been able to go that long. I wouldn't have been able to.
No. So, like I say, it's I'm just doing that for the moment, and that'll keep me ticking over.
But tell me, like with because you work with clients who like powerlifters, some lifestyle clients, like who's your favorite kind of client to work with, and why?
Well, to be fair, look, the vast majority. This is a common misconception. People see me and they see, clients like you on my feed and Amy lifting all these weights and that. But the vast majority of my clients are everyday lifestyle people who just want to. Yes, they got their health concerns, and this is always a funny one because people say, "Oh, they're doing it for health, this, that, and the other." I wholly believe that whilst health is nobody's motivated by health. I don't think, "Oh, I want to be healthy today." Everybody wants to fucking look good naked. They want to look fucking sexy for themselves, for their partners, whoever. They just want to, be standing in front of the mirror and check themselves out and like, yeah, I'd tap that. And that's what they want to be there. People say, oh, that's vain. It's not vain. It's just you want to have pride and confidence in how you look. And that's different to everybody. It doesn't mean shredded or this, that, or the other. So the kind of clients I love to work with. So I've had some incredible clients over the years. One of my long-term favorite clients was Twane, who also got into powerlifting as well. She was in such a rut with her life, ended up getting divorced. But she just like, I fucking want this more than I want air. And she just launched into it, did absolutely everything. She was, as you know, I don't complicate things. It's just basics. We nail the basics over and over and over again. And she just nailed the basics and absolutely transformed her life, was absolutely phenomenal. Aside from the fact that she then became, world champion powerlifter as well, at the age of 40. But so somebody like her who is coachable, puts in the work and just fucking wants it. Like she said, I wanted it more than I wanted to breathe. I just needed that change. I need to do this for me. This is my time. It is now. I'm doing it. That's the kind of mentality I can understand. There's no excuses. If she fucks up, she owns it and says, I'm sorry, it happened. It's not going to happen again. I'm going to do better. And it does happen again because we're not perfect, but it's it's the intent behind that. And people like her, I resonate with them because that's how I was when I started my journey. And every pursuit I've gone on, be it half marathons or powerlifting or bodybuilding, it's that mentality of I don't care what curveballs life throws at me. These are my non-negotiables, and this is what I'm doing. And because until you can, because every week there is a curveball that life throws at you,
Yeah.
and everything. And if you cannot manage those curveballs and stick to your basics, then you will never get fucking anywhere. And so it is that kind of mentality and that drive that I love people to work with. So I don't care whether somebody is 60 kilos overweight or is, underweight, wants to build muscle. It's about the mentality and the drive of that person. So the goal per se doesn't matter. It's more about the person and their intent behind it. And that's what I go for.
I've always said it's because we all live different lives. We all have different variables. Some people are married. Some people have kids. Some people work two
Yeah.
jobs. So we all have different variables. But I'm like, I've always said like the absolute basics of what health and fitness are about. Like the vast majority of people can fit those in consistently over time if they want to. It's just a matter of like do you want this? Do you
Yeah.
want this more than you feel like your own excuses?
Yeah, that's it. And it invariably goes beyond want. It's about, do you value? Do you value this in your life enough to do this? Because fuck, I want a Maserati right now. I could legitimately go out and buy a Maserati. I could afford it, but I do not value the expense that is for what it's going to provide me. So I stick with my Kia. My Kia is fine. It does me what it needs to do. I value what it does for me and the cost relationship with it. Maserati right now, I do not value it enough to go out and get it in terms of what it provides me. And it's that value that people put on something. Like when people inquire about costs of training programs.
Yeah.
I'm desperate. I need to lose weight. I hate myself and I'm, oh, woe me. Okay, all this shit. Okay. And then you talk about, pricing, and they talk about cost, whereas it shouldn't be about cost and price. It should be about investment and value. And until people see the value in something and can internalize that about what they're going to get from it and how it's going to transform their lives, and that's partly down to us to convey that to them, but until they start to value those things in the right order, then they'll continue to go around in these perpetual cycles of self-loathing, depression, overeating, and all the other parts that come with that negative cycle.
I can't tell you how many times, especially when I was like a personal trainer and like working in the physical space, I'd be like, because I was like, how much do you charge? And I'm like, oh, it's like, I'm in PE. This is a couple of years back. So I'm like $250 a session. You spend an hour with me, it's $250. I'm like, oh, that's like awfully pricey. I'm like, dude, you go out to dinner 4 days a week.
Yep.
You're spending 300, 400, $500 a time every single time you do that. Skip it once a week for the next month and you have everything covered.
Exactly. And it comes down to priorities and the value they place on this. Don't say it's too expensive. Say, I value my luxury car and my luxury holidays more than I value wanting to look and feel a certain way. If that's you, that's fine. But then also don't fucking moan that you don't like the way you look or this, that, or the other, because at the end of the day as well, everything that we know and we do it's not a secret. Everything is available for free on the internet. We do not, if people, wanted to, they could go and get everything they wanted on there. Yeah. They could, I mean, I didn't have when I lost all my weight, I didn't have a coach. I did it all on my own. And that was before, this was 2005 before the internet is what it is now. I mean, it was there, but not like it is. And so it is all there and available to them, but they don't do it. So it's not a question of cost, because if it was cost, they could do it. If cost was the barrier, then
you can eliminate that.
Yeah. but it's not, because it's available for free. You just won't put in the work. And so, yeah. So go and spend your money on a luxury holiday. It's cool. I love a good fucking holiday, but don't moan about the way you look or the way you feel, this, that, or the other, because you really don't want it. You're not prepared to put in the effort for what you really want.
No,
I can't. I don't get that.
and like I can especially imagine as someone who's driven like yours, driven like I am, it's hard for me to put myself in the shoes of someone who's like lacks all drive at all for this. Because I always tell like people like, oh, how do you stay motivated and blah blah. I was like, I'm not motivated. Like I feel like even though I love powerlifting as a whole, out of
Yeah.
a month's worth of sessions, I'm probably only excited to do maybe 10 of them. The rest are like, I'll get excited halfway through it. Like for now,
Yeah.
I'm like, I would prefer to chill on the couch and watch Netflix right now. But
Yeah.
I
Exactly
want
that.
the end result. So I'm just gonna get my ass up and go do it.
That's exactly it. I mean, when Lil and I did the what were the seminars called? Strong Women seminars we did across SA. That question came up a lot, was how do you stay motivated? And both Lil and I were just fucking like, if we are motivated for more than 1 or 2 sessions a week, it's a lot. The rest are just average okay sessions that we just go in and do. Others we absolutely fucking loathe, but we do them anyway because we are working for something better. And we know, so yeah, it's when those anonymous links and that you put on Instagram for ask questions and shit.
Yeah.
People say, who motivates you? I always find that such a weird concept. Like nobody's ever motivated me to want to be better or stronger, or it's always been, I just fucking want it. I don't look up to, I don't know, a Chris Duffin or a Larry Wills and think, yeah, I want to be like him. It just, I don't understand that concept of external motivation to get me to do shit.
I'm bad to the point where like Nicole, like
Yeah,
Nicole knows everyone there is to know in powerlifting. Like she watches all the videos on Instagram. She knows who their names are. She knows approximately what their best deadlifts are. And I'm the type like I'm to the point now where I'm like, if something powerlifting related pops up on Instagram, I don't even watch it. And I'm like, oh,
so,
Nicholas is about to do something amazing. I don't actually want to see that. It's just gonna make me feel bad about
yeah,
myself.
it's
I just
depressing.
skip through. Because I'm like, I powerlifting is already so much of my own life. I don't actually want more of it in my free time. So I don't actually look at other people for motivation. If anything, that starts to annoy me at some point.
Yeah, no, that's it. Do you know what? So the only time anyone in powerlifting has had a somewhat influence over my direction was when we're at Worlds in 2015 in Vegas, and Chris Duffin was there. So Kabuki Strength.
Mm.
He was selling his t-shirts and other bits and pieces, his bars, and I went and bought a t-shirt from him. I had a chat with him. Now, I mean, I'm a good several inches taller than him, and I stood next to him and got a picture taken, and I felt so skinny next to him. We were in the same weight class, and he was just fucking thick like this. And I thought, if I really want to do better at this, I just need to actually get fucking bigger. I cannot stay like this. And so that was the only, and I did. I got bigger after that. I went from the 110 category up to 125, and walking around at 127 to 130. But that's the only kind of, and that wasn't even a motivation. That was just a realization that fuck, I'm
Yeah.
small. I need to get bigger. Yeah,
I had a similar moment when I met Nicholas in person. I'm like, how are we in
yeah,
the same cat? How do we weigh the same? Like he literally. I'm not a small person either. Like I'm a fairly large human being, but he made me feel tiny.
yeah. Nick's a behemoth, though. I mean, genetic anomaly, I reckon there. But yeah, phenomenal athlete as well. But yeah, it's like and it is seeing people like that in person that kind of puts things in perspective as
Mm.
well. Again, like Worlds in Vegas and then Worlds in Finland, more so in Vegas because I was still very new to it then. And Chris Duffin was one thing, but there's me at 6'3" tall, weighing in at 109 kilos for the 110 kilo weight class. And then there's all these guys queuing up in front of me to register who I presumed were in the 125 or 140 class. And they weren't. They were in my class. Some of them were like a foot shorter, and they had cut, from 125 down to under 110, and then were rebounding back up again. So they were like this. And I was like, man. And so this was, I'm not sure, do you follow Delroy McQueen at all? So he's
Loosely,
pretty,
but yes.
okay, so British powerlifter, ex-Olympic weightlifter. And then there was another guy, Dave Jenkins, who they ultimately won the class in the end. They were 300 kilos above third place. Okay, but Dave Jenkins went on to compete at train at Westside. Funny enough, Louis Simmons took him in. But these guys, they were just thick and fucking massive, and it was just, yeah. Like I say, at that point, Chris Duffin settled it. At that point, I just need to get bigger. But seeing these people in person, and you just see how thick they are and how big they are,
it's more the realization of what's actually humanly possible. Like,
yeah.
once someone else has achieved it and you've realized what's actually possible, it then goes back to self-motivation. Like, okay, I know it's possible. I am now going to set out to go do that.
Yeah, no, that's it. And people they're unaware of what can be achieved with drugs and without drugs. Again, I was going through some reels this morning. There was a guy just posting his transformation over 14 weeks. He was a bodybuilder, so he probably was on, performance enhancing drugs. But again, from a pictures, you can't say he might have been like 70 kilos, or he could have been 100 kilos, so you don't know. But going through the comments, everyone was like, oh, juice, gear. I must be easy taking all these drugs. I'm like, you really don't have any clue, whatsoever. Drugs, I could go to the gym now, point out 20 people who are on drugs who look absolutely fucking shite.
Yeah.
And so it does but people just are unaware of what they're actually capable of and what is really possible. If you look at the natural bodybuilders, their physiques are phenomenal. They almost I actually think they look leaner and drier than the guys in the Olympia and that. The only difference is their size. They are tiny in comparison. So their physique looks phenomenal, but they are a lot smaller. And that's where the drugs come in. But what they have achieved naturally, again, just blows, what other people say out the water, because you don't need the drugs. It might take a little bit longer. Muscle growth takes longer. Dieting has to be more cautious, but it is all possible. So yeah, it's funny.
It goes down to people are unaware. People think performance enhancing drug use is more rare than it actually is. It is freaking widespread. I could go to certain high schools and point out 10 rugby kids who are probably on something. Like, it is widespread.
Yep. No, that's it. I mean, at the elite level of sports, if you're not on gear, then you're not at the elite level because you wouldn't have made it. The top 10, the fastest men in the world in 100-meter sprint, 200-meter sprint, all on gear. You look at your favorite Premier League footballers, they are all or have been or will be on some form of performance enhancing drug, be it broncholators or things to help their oxygen capacity to run for fucking 90 minutes at breakneck speed for all that time, or rugby players who constantly take these hits and get injured but miraculously come back to play 10 days later, when we know we've had similar injuries and like, fuck, I've been out for 6 weeks and not been able to do half of what they're doing. So yeah, it is rife. And I want it that way in terms of elite sport. I want to see the fastest, the strongest people on the planet compete. If you took away their drugs and times got slower and, everything else went backwards, people would be like, well, this is shit. I want that fast guy back. Okay, well, let's give him some drugs again. Yeah.
It's almost like if you create the argument, if you create an Olympics where this one's non-drug tested, do whatever the hell you want, and this one's like drug tested to the extreme, where they test everyone all the time. No one would watch the normal one. Like it would be boring by comparison. Like no one would watch that.
No, that's it. I mean, in fact, my old coach Broderick, I know I wanted to send him. So if people are into the performance enhancing drug scene and want to follow somebody, follow Broderick Chavez or Team Evil Genius, Team Evil GSP. This guy is fucking phenomenal. Most of the pros, consult with him in some form or other, or have done. But I went to he coached me for a long while, and went to his seminar, and he was talking about how he couldn't take any more clients on at the moment because he had so many people at the Olympics who he was coaching to obviously with their drug protocol to beat the WADA system, because he said WADA are a bunch of cunts and are useless and it's easy to beat. And his roster was full of just these guys in the Olympics, and these are top level guys. And they plan this so far out. In fact, he gave one example where working with a weightlifter, where I can't remember the exact specifics, but it's about 6 years out. They deliberately get him banned. So he gets caught deliberately. So he then gets banned for 2 or 3 years, at which point he can then go 2 to 3 years running all the gear he wants to get all the athletic enhancement and performance he wants without being tested, to then come back as this now new entire beast, clean, served his ban, and he's now at another level. And he's still running stuff, but they're now smart with it, and they plan it and beat the drug testing into the Olympics, and he goes and competes there. And the lengths that these athletes go to is insane in terms of the shit that they do. Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, mind-boggling stuff that they actually do to get there. But yeah, it's fascinating. It really is fascinating.
That is actually mind blowing. That so smart on how to do it. Like freaking smart. On that bombshell, we're running out of time. Dave, thank you so much for joining me in. We gotta pick this conversation up at a later time. Loved having you on.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, get me on. I'm always happy to chat shit. Next time we can talk about penis gate and see what's going on there.
Thanks everyone for watching. We'll check you in the next one.